Hi, Captain Peter Cutsey, South Korea, and this is my briefing room. We have completed the descent procedure in the last video, and now we're actually going to talk about the approach procedure, and then we're going to fly the aircraft. Let's go and have a look at PowerPoint on the approach procedure, broken down into pilot flying and pilot monitoring. The approach procedure is normally started at transition level. Complete the approach procedure before the initial approach fix, or the start of radar vectors, or the start of a visual approach. For an instrument approach using EAN, select the approach procedure on the arrivals page. Select the glide slope prompt off for EAN. If flying an ILS approach where the glide slope transmitter is inoperative or where the glide slope data is unreliable. So glide slope prompt off if those conditions. Do not manually build an approach to add waypoints to the selected FMC procedure. And that should be in your SOPs. Pilots are very tempted to build their own. Don't do it. When using QFE, if it's allowed as per your company SOPs, the use of LNAV, VNAV, and EN are not authorized. And you'll find that most companies that I'm aware of don't allow the use of QFE. If you're flying into places like Russia on a regular basis, and that's a different story, but follow your company SOPs. For a GLS approach, select the appropriate GLS channel. For an ILS, localizer, back course, SDF, or LD approach, that's most approaches, select the appropriate localizer frequency, which we just did, 111.3. For a back course approach, enter the front course in the mode control panel. Do not select for lock. All right, that's for a back course approach. Not the case for this scenario. For all other approaches, select a VOR frequency in both VHF control panels. Now, pilot monitoring during the arrival and approach, verify the RMP is needed, set the passenger signs as needed, at or above 10,000 feet, set the landing lights on, or as per SOPs. At transition level, set and cross-check the altimeters and update the arrival and approach as needed. That's it. That's the approach procedure. And you'll find the approach check list only has 2, perhaps 3 items, depending on your company. But basically, that's what the procedure is. Let's go into the airplane now, and let's get the show on the road. I've muted the sound while I'm talking so that, and I apologize for the last video, probably a little noisy in the background. I'm learning also using this excellent software. So we are dynamic, and top of descent is just up ahead, and we'll be starting down on schedule. We've been cleared to 7,000 feet. We are in VNAV, and we are in VNAV path, as you can see on the PFD. And what we're going to be looking for in the descent, on the descent page, and we'll go to that, that'll be coming up soon. We'll just have a look at the descent page, and the target speed is 280 knots, 280 knots is the target, or 0.751 Mach. So right now we're in cruise, and as the pilot flying, I am in the cruise on the cruise page, and my pilot monitoring is on the legs page. All right, so let's go back up to the top. So the other thing also is the use of Route 2. It is a good idea if to have your alternate in Route 2. That's airmanship, and even if it's not your company procedures, unless they prohibit that, I would recommend having your alternate all set up, ready to go. You don't know when you're going to need to go to your alternate. It's not just weather considerations. It could be a problem at the airport and the runway is closed. Now, if you've noticed, we have Vorlock armed. Now, I didn't make that selection, but that selection would be here. We'll just disarm the Vorlock because you'd only do that, arm it when you are cleared for the approach. So we'll come down here and have a look. All right, this is the correct presentation we're getting now. And it's important that you monitor your PFD and your FMA at all times. And this is what the normal readout should be. So the software in this particular software that I'm using triggered that, and it shouldn't have triggered that. So that's good for our cross-check. So this is what you should be looking at. This is the correct indication. Remember that we are in speed intervene because we have a problem with this FMC on this airplane. So top of descent is coming up shortly, and because we've selected 7,000 feet, you'll find that we will transition to descent at the top of descent. Now, just before we start down, let's just have a boo at the distance to touchdown. It's virtually going to be a straight-in approach. We're 89 nautical miles, and which is good for for our distance and our altitude. And 88. All right, top of descent coming up. And if you notice, the thrust is reducing, and we'll go back, and we're going to be actually starting descent. To be established in the descent at that point. We're still in VNAV path, which is good. We're 10 nautical miles from the descent. And we've checked the HS again. There are no changes, and the weather is good. And the current altimeter setting in Dubai is 1,013. And part of our discussions when we gave the briefing, if I hadn't mentioned it, we should have talked about transition level, which is 150 going into Dubai. So here we are here. Just about to start descent. We'll just have a look at the engine instruments here. "30-second trend vector is indicating that we are close to 20 seconds from beginning descent. And if you notice on the map, we have a deceleration. That's for the speed restriction that we have on the legs page. And we're also going to have a look at, we should go up, I should say, and set up the speed just at the top of descent. We have a problem with it. We should revert back to the FMC speed. All right, it is reverted back, so that's all right. So there's the top of descent. So thrust should come back on schedule because we are in VNAV path, and we should be getting an indication here on the auto throttles just as we start down. And there we go, on schedule. And arm when the thrust levers are idle, and we are starting our descent, leaving flight level 2004, 7,000. And here is our vertical profile here with respect to our path to the airport. And we should see a deceleration in speed as we come up to this point here. And we have been further cleared to 5,000 feet. $5,000 set and verified with the pilot monitoring and the pilot flying. We'll set a different scale. So we can see the active waypoint. We normally set up our nav display with the active waypoint visible. And that's airmanship and probably will be part of your SOPs, which makes sense, of course. And the auto throttles indicating retard, back to idle now that we've intercepted our path, and leaving flight level 180 for 5,000 feet. And if you notice up here in the top left corner of the PFD, we have the course of 299 set. And that reflects this course here because the ILS frequency is tuned. And we're still in VNAV path, which is where we should be. And if you notice the active waypoint on, that's the progress page. I'll go into the descent page here. It's the page I should be on. And the pilot monitoring is on the legs page. So we'll put him on the legs page. Now we're cleared direct to MODIS. So the pilot monitoring will line select that to the scratch pad to the top. I'll confirm after checking the actual track on the map. Never to execute unless you've checked the white dotted line going to the point, and I've checked it and I agree with it, and we are now going direct to that point, to MODIS. And if you remember from our briefing, MODIS is the final approach fix. We're cleared direct. Now, that has put us slightly low on the path, 1,879 feet. And there's where we're actually going to achieve 5,000 feet. So we as a crew are monitoring what the flight management system is doing at all times, of course. And vertical path here. So we're regaining our path bit by bit. That's what we want to have a look at. And there's a lot of information on this page. And there's also a lot of information on the progress page 2.4 for crosswind, cross-track error, deviation, et cetera, et cetera. It's important. And depending on your FMC update, you may even have 5 pages on the progress page. You may have up to 5 pages. All right. So we'll go back to the descent page where I should be. And we're coming up to transition. And if we, for some reason, forgot to change over, we would be reminded as we go through transition level. Let's just have a look at that and see. Now, transition level, if we go back to the chart, just to confirm what it is, to make sure I'm not, yes, that is correct. And you saw it here. There, standard. So we go ahead and select 1013, leaving 14,700. And the pilot monitoring would have done it at the same time and confirmed the altitude leaving. There we're on QNH out of 14,600. So it's important that you cross-check this information. And on screen now, you can notice the deceleration point coming up. Here, and you could actually see that on the legs page. We go to the legs page here. Let's have a quick look. We're going direct to Modus, but there was a deceleration point in order to be at 250 knots below 10,000. That's where the aircraft is going to start slowing. So that bug should move to 240 knots at that point. Let's find out if it does it. And we're regaining our path. We're only 630 feet low. And we'll go down right to 10,000, and then we'll end this video. And this will be part 1 of the approach procedure. Then we'll go and do a part 2 as the next video. I wanted to do it this way to give you my thinking and the things that we should be thinking about as pilots. And of course, you're always following your company SOPs. And you'll find the company SOPs follow pretty much what Boeing have depicted in the FCTM, FCOM 1, FCOM 2, and QRH. They were just about back on path. We're 220 feet low and regaining path quickly. And if we go to the progress page, we're 49 miles from touchdown out of 13,000. And there is the ATIS just coming into, we'll just check it out to make sure that it's correct. And the altimeter 1013 arriving runway 30 left. We're reading it on screen. So welcome to technology. Perhaps a lot of your aircraft have that now. Your company has that now. But this software is excellent, by the way. Now let's just make sure that we are, in fact,
Dubai INTL information Oscar.
VNAV path,
1700 Zulu weather.
and we are.
Wind calm. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 12,500
There's the auto
broken.
throttles.
Temperature
retarding,
17.
and now
Dew point
arm. Now the
-8.
speed should move
Area
back.
QNH 1013. Arriving runway 30 left.
And we will
Departing
have a look
runway
at that up
30
here to
right.
make sure that
Advise on initial contact you have Oscar.
the window is closed, meaning the FMT will control the speed, and it should. We'll just wait for that. And if it doesn't, we will control the speed manually. We've got to be at, and we're right on path. So
Dubai
the FMC
INTL
realizes,
information Oscar.
that at
1700
44 miles,
Zulu weather.
out of 11,500,
Visibility more than 10.
above the airport, that
Sky
to
conditions
lose,
12,500 broken.
26 knots,
Temperature
we're gonna be
17.
fine.
Dew
But
point
we'll
-8.
watch it like a hawk
Area
and make
QNH
sure that we don't exceed
1013.
350 knots
Arriving
below
runway 30
10,000.
left. Departing runway 30 right. Advise on initial contact you have Oscar.
There we go. All right. I have confidence in its software. X-Plane does a good job. Just a few minor things that we've been talking about over the last several videos. But and it's good to see it
Dubai
dynamic.
INTL information Oscar. 1700
All right,
Zulu
we're happy
weather.
with the weather. There
Wind
has
calm.
been no change.
Visibility
Let's
more
just
than
go and
10.
Get rid of the
Sky conditions
sound
12,500 broken.
we
Temperature
can
17.
carry
Dew
on.
point -8. Area QNH 1013. Arriving runway 30 left. Departing runway
All right.
30 right.
So
Advise on initial contact you
we're
have
slowing
Oscar.
fine. I'm just going to come down and turn off the ATIS. With the software, we're going to hear it continually, but in flight, you could, of course, turn your volume down, and that's all right. So we'll just do that and come back up again, and here we go. We're all set. We're cooking. So here we are, a commanded speed of 240 to make sure that 250 is not exceeded above 10,000, and we're doing fine. And on the progress page, we're at 38 nautical miles, and which is just about on a 3-degree glide slope for straight in. This is good. If you notice on the FMA, the auto throttle mode is armed, ready for a thrust increase later. We are in LNAV because our clearance was direct to a point, and we're using RNAV to do it. And we're in VNAV path, which means we're going to go to the selected altitude on schedule according to the descent page. And the descent page is over here, and we'll have a look at it. And there we go. All right. So MODIS at 2000, if you notice, and if you notice the vertical path as far as being low or high, and the flight path angle, and we are right on path, and we're right on path. So we should be observing these. Now we'll go up to the top and turn on some lights that we didn't do before, but those and the seatbelt sign to be on, and then we would do the approach checklist, because we pretty well done the approach procedure as we briefed, and we've talked to Sally in the back, and so we'll have the turn off on and the fixed on, and once cleared for landing, we will put on all lights. And let's just go up to the top. We're slowing here, bear with me, and we'll get the seatbelt sign on. And whatever your company procedures are for chime. Okay, now let's get some sound in. And let's go back. And of course, we would be talking through the appropriate facilities. Going into Dubai, you have approach, and then director, and then you have tower, and then your ground frequency. You have tower north, and tower south, and ground north, ground south. So all of that was part of your briefing before you even left the flight. You've got yourself prepared for your flight. You don't wait till the last minute. So you really have studied the airport, and you know it's a busy airport. And we've also talked about your what you're going to do after landing, what taxiway you expect to turn off at, depending on that distance that you looked at on the OPT. All of that would have been part of discussion in your approach briefing. We didn't do it. We just did a very basic approach briefing with an excellent aircraft handling for the go-around procedure, and then read the missed approach procedure. I highly recommend that you follow that. So we're now cleared to a lower altitude. We're to maintain 4,000 feet, no change in the tunings. So leaving 8,000 for 4,000. And if we have a quick look at the progress page, we're 29 nautical miles. So let's pause here. And so far, this will be part 1 of the approach procedure. The next video, we'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, stay professional, stay passionate, and enjoy your flying.